We have from Active Living and Parks, their annual report. We're happy to have Londa Strong and Brian Haigler.
I promise I'm not going to read all this to you. I brought it just to show you how far we've come with our communications department. This was the first annual report that I did in 1983. We've come a long way now from this to what you have now, which is this with all the nice information inside there. I ran across these one day last week, and I was like, oh, that'd be interesting. And we've had all kinds of different formats, all in between, from small and large, until we got our communications department. And thank you, Kasha, for turning this into a wonderful document that we now have. There were a couple of things that I did see when I went through there that I wanted to highlight a little bit before Byron goes over this past year. It came out of the 1983 and 84 one was the first one, which we had the maintenance division was in our department, and we took care of all of the grounds with five people. I don't remember exactly what the budget was, but the total budget for the year was $410,000. There were 90,000 people in Cabarrus County at that time. We did have 2 matching incentive grant projects that year for a total of $10,250. I mean, we were doing a lot with that money. And the cost per capita was $4.54. I thought that was kind of interesting when we looked through it. 10 years ago, the Franklin Park participation was 233,000 people, VVP, or North Cabarrus Park at the time, and Spencer was 119,000. We had $80,000 in incentive grants, and there was 481,000 in programs. In 10 years, I think you'll be interested to hear what Byron's getting ready to tell you, the numbers and the programs and the things are. And if you ever have any interest in wanting to look at any of these, please feel free to let me know. I have most everyone from 1983. There are a few that are missing. Not sure why, but there's some interesting documentation in there.
Some of the numbers that she mentioned, I'd like to start off with the overall participations with the department. Over 1,032,000 participations between the parks and the senior centers and the programs and events and just utilizing the facilities. Just an extremely impressive number of those that want to utilize and are taking advantage of the facilities that we have available for them in the county. The numbers that she just mentioned since you mentioned Franklin Park, 200,000, I believe, participations 10 years ago. Currently, the attendance for Franklin Park solely 602,000 participations at Franklin Park.
There were 75,000 in 1983, 84.
North Cabarrus Park and Camp T and Spencer Park, 219,000, so double 10 years ago at this point. Just the numbers are growing and growing, and people are utilizing these facilities. Some of the other highlights that we are at our 4th year for hosting the Cabarrus for the state senior games in Cabarrus County. So next week we have pickleball coming into town, and we had 904 participations last year for pickleball, senior games pickleball here in Cabarrus County. And again, that is next week, and we will be hosting that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week. So if it's something you have never seen before, 18 games going at one time and seeing seniors participating and playing pickleball is something to see. I think we are over 700 signed-on participants for that next week, all over the state coming in. The Senior Centers won an award from the Area Agency on Aging for the programs and activities that were hosted during the Older Americans Month in May. We opened a 9-hole disc golf course at Rob Wallace Park with 18 tee pads. We had 1,800 trout stocked at Franklin Park, offering the opportunity for people to fish and have the mountain feel in Cabarrus County. for the second year. North Carolina Wildlife chose Franklin Park to be a host site for that, and having over 700 participants try their hand at trout fishing here in Cabarrus County.
In December and January.
Staff and volunteers identified over 200 species of plants and animals. 174 monarch butterflies were raised and released from our park system. We have a new LED sign now at the Concord Senior Center to help us advertise programs and events, and it's full color, and it is clear enough to see that close from the road of the programs and events going on, and let people know that they need to have a part of that senior center, and it is not just for those that are knitting and sewing. Our healthy concessions is something to really take a step back and look at. In 2013, we had 13% healthy concessions. That changed to 64% in 2018, as far as the amount of products that are classified as healthy in 2018. But then to look at that, we've increased our healthy concessions, but also our sales for those healthy concessions have increased as well, from 24% in 2013 to 52% in 2018. So people are buying healthy concessions.
And that is just at Franklin Park.
Correct. Also, installation of PA systems in our vehicles and the park systems to help relay important information to our park patrons. Heaven forbid we have an emergency situation. This will allow us to communicate properly with our park patrons there in a very wide open area if need be. And we have many partnerships that we have worked with as far as our tax program, bringing on the iFly participation programs and going indoor skydiving with our participants, and then just looking at the overall program numbers. We are offering over 4,000 programs in a year between the senior centers and the parks. With a full-time staff of 18, that's very impressive in our book. Does anyone have any questions or anything that I could answer for you? Just, I know Londa's last piece there that she had was the per capita cost back, actually that was 84? And you said
In '83, it was $4.54.
The per capita cost right now for both the senior centers and the parks is $10.84. The national per capita cost is $76.44. And the state per capita cost is $65.54. We are at $10.84.
I do have one last thing before you have any questions for Byron. 1985-86 land use plan. And you'll hear a lot of this has happened, maybe not in the time frame of which we anticipated. It was 1985-86, North Cabarrus District Park. Land acquisition 1 to 5 years and development 1 to 5 years. It's developed, it just wasn't quite that time. Harrisburg Community Park, of course, we haven't done that. Midland Community Park, 1 to 5 years for land acquisition and development was 11 to 15, so we were close on that one. Unique areas, Cottle Creek Reservoir, Mount Pleasant Reservoir, and the Reed Gold Mine. And open space Greenway, Rocky River Greenway, Cottle Creek Greenway, Lake Concord Greenway, Coldwater Greenway, 3 Mile Greenway, and Muddy Creek Greenway, and most of those were 11 to 15 years in development. Of course, the Carolina Thread Trail, when that came in 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that took place of this, but I thought that was pretty interesting considering how many years ago that was and where we are at this point. I won't bore you with any more trivia.
Well, I think it's very interesting. I'm trying to decide whether that's an example of the really great job you're doing, or if you're demonstrating to us how old you are.
Maybe both.
Or both. I think that's a good answer. But those are some very impressive facts. I think when we look at that per capita cost compared to the state and the nation is very impressive, and our citizens should very much appreciate that.
And we appreciate you all and the support that we get. And we wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for you all. We do appreciate that as well as management.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Just one comment. Byron, are you going to have some more trout brought out this year?
We have done everything in our power to ensure that we will be the site location for the trout again this year.
Well, that's good. That seemed to bring out a lot of people to the park. Now, that 1,800 you put in there, now how many of them still in there? I don't think we know that, but
We believe the last fish that was brought out was at the very end of January, so there's a lot of fishing between the end of December and the end of January.
well, I guess that probably depend on the weather. Let's just hope it's good so people can get out and enjoy the parks. Yeah.
I
Thank you.
don't know how well trout adapt to water temperatures, but according to what the Wildlife Commission said, if I remember correctly, the temperature-wise, if they were in there, we would have found them now because, or a few weeks ago anyway, because they would not have lived. Yeah.
I was just going to make a quick comment, and I was on the commission board when we had a lot of discussion about healthy choices. And of course, the discussion centered around, is anybody going to actually buy this if we provide it? And not to overstay, but I mean, that went on for, I mean, my time may be a little bit off, but it wasn't just one quick meeting.
No.
We talked about it for a long time. So I'm glad to hear that worked out because it was a tough decision to try to figure out, well, are we giving up a revenue stream here? And I think we responded to the marketplace, and I think that's a good example of how when people get together and have good ideas and map out a plan, things generally work out in a good fashion. So thank you for all your hard work and everything that you guys do.
And in next year's annual report, you'll see that we eliminated all soft drinks at Franklin's Park this year and have had only a couple of requests for them, so. And we sold a lot of water and Powerade, Gatorade, those type things.
I was just going to say, I serve as liaison from the commissioners to the Senior Center Advisory Council and make a lot of announcements, but I mean, definitely you guys, I wanted to thank you for what you do. You got a great board and most enthusiastic people I've ever seen, and seniors is not the right word for them, but like I said, a lot going on there that if people are interested, they really should check it out, and I'm sure the parks as well. I'm just more affiliated with the senior side in more ways than one. So encourage people to check it out. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.